Okay, the next item is agenda changes and adoption of agenda. Does the board have any recommended changes to tonight's agenda? Okay. Does the majority of the board agree to recommended changes? Oh, sorry. The next item is school connections, Kingston Middle School and Wolfle Elementary School. The board of directors would like to thank Adam Dysart, Kingston Middle School principal, and Beth LaHaye, Wolfle Elementary School principal, for preparing and presenting the Kingston Middle School and Wolfle Elementary School data. At this time, I would like to turn the meeting over to Rachel Davenport, Adam and Beth to present Kingston Middle School and Wolfle Elementary School data.
Great. And we also have Emily Thatcher here. She is assistant principal at Kingston Middle School. So welcome, and Adam, I'm going to let you take it away.
Okay. All right, so we can, and I'll be brief. I've been instructed to be brief, so, but you've seen the slides in advance, so just stop me if you have questions as we go through. Okay, go ahead and advance. Who's got the clicker, because I don't. Okay. All right, so in short, we'll start with introductions. You kind of got our names, but we'll say a little bit about ourselves, what we want to get out of this presentation. We'll go through the 3 goals that we connect with in terms of our school improvement plan, and then hopefully allow some time for questions. Okay. All right, so what you'll see obviously through the slides is summary up to this point. So the data will be fairly current up through winter, and you'll see, some lagging data as well from last year, and then we'll talk about efforts towards change, looking ahead to next year and the rest of the spring.
So I'm going to speak to goal 2. I oversee our attendance team and a lot of our SEL work for climate and culture. We have been tasked, or one of the things that we've come in with is to hope to stabilize our school. There was a lot of upheaval last spring. We both believe that they're the reason we're here, and the work we're doing is intentional, purposeful, and helpful. If you'll go to the next slide, you'll see kind of what our data looks like at this point. Our attendance team, I really need to call out the work that the people on my team do. I just support them and what they can deliver, and that's partnership with my Native American liaison, as well as my tribal tutors that come in and support, my nurse, our nurse, our counselors, and our counselors that also serve us from other areas, like our SAT and our physical community health service mental health counselor. We're meeting monthly as best we can, and we're looking at ways to make sure absences are excused, and we're partnering with supports. So right now we're holding pretty steady with attendance, and we have plans and things that we've done that have continued to increase. Go ahead, Isaiah. And then our panorama data is, again, showing great improvement for us. We've done some good listening opportunities in August with families and found what they needed for students to feel safe at our school. That promoted a big increase in how our families feel in climate. We've been really transparent, open, and communicative, and we've tried to be really consistent with what we focus on. Our students are also feeling an increase in belonging, climate, and we still have work to do. But we're getting there by listening and partnering. Advance. And then this slide is just to simply indicate that there's not any big shift right now. Again, we're holding stable in how our students are feeling. There was kind of our dip is minimal comparatively. It's not real substantial change, but it also isn't a drop. So again, we feel like we're continuing to give kids what they need and what they're asking for. Advance. And so our next steps, we're going to keep working on SEL delivery through Four at the Door, through advisory lessons, through intentional small groups with our counselors and our contract employees, and then we're just, again, trying to focus on the same outcomes every time, the same focus and getting better and better at what our teachers know how to do and what we know research says will benefit students. And then that should, again, continue to increase the favorable ratings, and that alignment with our community, our students, and our.
All right, goal 3, so equitable access. So this is, we're looking at academics and all of our subgroups and students accessing core instruction. So there you'll see, I won't read any figures off for you. You can see it. So for SBA and iReady, those are the 2 key benchmarks that we review. We're certainly looking at, from spring of last year to fall, winter of this year, a dip in some places. And as a staff, we've looked at that, particularly in math. And as we'll talk about in a later goal for graduate ready, that's a key indicator. So there has been some focus on that, but I would go back to what Emily was indicating, which coming in, a lot of our work was around relational capacity. They'll say, culture is first and foremost in a building. And then once you address that and go at expectations, you can then start focusing in on the core academics. And so that's our goal, and we're hoping in spring to see the 2024 spring data on iReady, math, and ELA look more like what you see for 2023. And yeah, now I'll get into some of our next steps here on the next slide. So AVID strategies, we're a school-wide AVID, and we do have several, I would say, approaches to instruction that are common across all disciplines, and that's going to be increasing as we look at that data, and we look at especially math. What is it that within that department we have conversations that we can all do well? And so we look at like the use of ALEX, which is a program that gives kids immediate feedback when they have a misconception or an error, and that's been really useful. And so now, for example, all those teachers have aligned how they start their lessons with kids doing problems within ALEX, and then they've aligned that to the Reveal, the math core program. Digital, blended learning. We're really moving into a phase here of, and I know a little bit of the history, even though I'm new to the district. It's similar across a lot of systems, which is, it's a powerful tool. We recognize that. We also recognize that it's not the end, right? It's a means to the end. And so we really want to make sure that the tool is used wisely, because a lot of our curriculum is now loaded on computers. And so, for example, this year we've come to sort of wonder, should we pause? Sometimes we call it shark the device, and have more opportunities for inquiry and collaboration so that the student's not just on the device for the entirety of a block. So those are some of the things that we're looking at moving forward. The last goal that we're aligned to, in middle school, this does look different than high school, but we do have some indicators that we can look at. So if you advance that slide. Grades is one place, but we're also finding that grades are not as great a predictor as some of the previous data that you saw, the iReady data and the SBA. So, for example, BLT right now, we're looking at for next year, and we're having a lot of conversations this spring about aligning our grading practices and trying to make it more predictive, trying to find that correlation between how do we assess against standard and will that translate when they take an assessment. In terms of high school and college and beyond, our students are having ample opportunity to meet with counselors, think through what do they want to do once they advance to high school, and now we're working closely with KHS on that pathway. We're starting to look at it as a 6 through 12 pathway and really setting kids up for success so that they have choice once they go up to high school, which is really important for them being motivated, right, beyond high school. And I've already talked about ALEX to a degree. And really that 8th grade passing math, we're really hyper focused there, because they're passing, like I said, by grade, but we're looking at the state assessment and they're not. And so we're trying to ask a lot of questions. That's our problem of practice right now. Why? And so I work closely with the math department, and they're really, really working hard this year to dig into that and try to figure out, well, what do we need to do different? And that's really the job of all educators at all times. Right. That was fast enough.
It was, thank you. And just clarification, when you say BLT for folks that aren't in your building, it's not a delicious sandwich you're chatting with.
No, building leadership team.
Okay, building leadership.
Yeah.
Question.
I just had a couple questions. So you said that I'm not sure I understood that you are, right now, Alex is being done during the whole block of math?
No, sorry, they launch the lesson with some do now. So one of our key strategies is when kids come into the class, there's something they're immediately going to do. And so the teachers will select a few, like 2 to 3 problems out of Alex. And sometimes they even send it home, kind of flip the classroom, have the kids do that work, come in, and then they look at how kids are doing on those 2 problems. And it's aligned to then the reveal core math that they launch with within a few minutes. So it's at the beginning of the block.
So the lesson is being taught with online, the whole group is doing it together online?
Some
You just
components.
said we wanted to cut back on the amount of time kids are on technology for math?
Yes. Alex is an online program.
Yes.
Reveal has components, the Reveal
Yeah.
Math has components that are online, but I find that most teachers a lot of it is paper pencil. So one of the main activity, the gist of the lesson, kids will be working out of notebooks, because note-taking is a huge point of emphasis as far as our AVID strategy, and then they're tapping into the online resource or curricular resources that's loaded there when need be.
Because I think it's gonna be real important to find ways, because even if you got up to next year's percentage, that's still only 50% of the kids that are passing, so.
Right.
We wanna improve that, of course, and I know you're working hard at that.
Thank you for the presentation, they're always, it's very helpful.
Former Cab here, go Cab.
We got a lot of those. A lot of families that come in and they're like, it looks the same. I'm like, I can find your pictures somewhere. Let's go.
Thank you. In regards to the panorama have you found, are you getting any more responses, any more family?
The overall number.
Yeah.
No, it's limited. I feel it's not, it's hard to use that as a data point, right, when you're not hearing from all families. And so that is an area that, and it didn't really come up in our slides, but I'm looking to see how I can pull in more families for more informal feedback, like, so through a meal, through a night that we're, bringing them in to see student work, and then, seeing ways that we can get information from them.
Great.
Yes, first, thank you for the presentation, excellent. And my question is kind of similar to that, just parent participation, curious, kind of see, we know what recovered from the pandemic, and then where do you think you're at? Are you even close to where you were before, or does it still need to be a point of emphasis?
I'm not entirely sure what it was like before,
Yes,
but in talking to folks, we did used to have a somewhat healthy, PTO, and it's something that we're definitely looking to recruit. Brandy Lacey's our everything. She works in our office, knows everybody, knows every family. And so I've been really working closely with her on that recruitment. And we've identified a few parents that we've had conversation with, but it hasn't grown. So my goal is that next year, it's a group that comes together, maybe once a quarter, and we start to get some ideas, kind of generating really like the direction they'd like to go in terms of that. So what does it look like for them to fully participate when a lot of them are working 2, 3 jobs, or they're a single parent? It's tricky, but we want to find ways to get their input.
Yeah, totally understand, and, I think it's an important effort. I mean, this is a pretty good forum for you, so just, we all as a board need to continue to try to push for maximum do that in all of our schools.
Thank you, Adam and Emily.
Adam, just because it will praise you guys, I pulled your numbers right now. Your most recent data, parental response rate was at 19, and the previous one last spring was 12.9.
Oh.
So that's a over 6 percentage point increase in response rate, so thanks for it.
I'll take it.
From Wolfle Elementary.
Okay. That is last year's I can just start by talking now.
Yeah, go for it.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Bethany LaHaye, and I get to share an update with you tonight from David Wolfle Elementary. Thanks for the opportunity. And I always like to start the presentations with a little reminder of who we are at Wolfle. because you have a lot of schools to keep track of. Wolfle consists of a little over 270 students in preschool through fifth grade. It's also home to our North Kitsap Option Signature Program, which consists of 90 students in grades K through 8. We have 28 students enrolled in our developmental preschool, and a little over 60 staff members support all of them. Our free and reduced percentage is right around 58% currently, and one of our most predominant focus groups are Native American students, and they make up a third of our population. So tonight we'll be looking at our school's data, and I'll be sharing with you our goals between now and June and the action steps that will help us achieve those goals. Okay? So we'll start with our smallest customers, and those are our kindergarten through second grade. And we're going to look at our reading and math data. So for the purpose of this presentation, we're going to focus on how they are doing in the core subject areas of reading and math. This slide just shows the school improvement goals that we set at the very beginning of the year. I think this is a good visual reminder because we tend to use a lot of terminology in education, and I think it's good to remind everyone what we're talking about when we say things like Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3. So in this visual, what it shows is this well. The smallest part of the triangle should typically be color red, and it indicates students that need the most intensive service. That's what we call of students that are in need of some additional supports in addition to their regular full class instruction, which is called Tier 2. And the green part of this triangle is our goal for all grade levels. We want 80 to 90% of our students to have the skills to be successful in their classroom, the classroom teacher. So this is what we want our triangles to look like if all of our systems are working. So we'll start with reading, and this slide shows our kindergarten and first grade data. It shows the beginning of the year and then the middle of the year benchmarks, and it also includes our options program. So when you look at the comparison of the red bars, that's our students needing the most intensive services. From the beginning of the year to the middle of the year, you'll notice a large difference. The number of students showing a need for Tier 3 intervention in reading has decreased significantly from fall to winter across all kindergarten and first grade classes. The same observation can be made looking at our second grade students, as we see the red line getting shorter since the beginning of the year, yet it isn't as large of a jump in comparison to kindergarten and first grade. And it's important when you look at our options data that you remember how small of a number we're talking about because it's a multi-age program. For example, in this slide for second grade, there's only one second grader needing Tier 2 services and one second grader needing Tier 3, so it's just important to remember that. We dug into our, can you go back? As we dug into our data more, one of our teachers noticed something very important. So oral reading fluency is a skill that's measured in first through fifth grade in elementary school. And when you look at the benchmark cut scores that give you the different tiers, they notice that in grades second through fifth grade, the scale changed from last year to this year. For example, at the mid-year mark last year in second grade, our goal was to have students reading 72 words per minute by the winter benchmark. But this year, the second grade winter benchmark was 78 words per minute. So as we reviewed the benchmark cut scores, we noticed this jump in expectations from second through fifth grade. And we wanted to understand why the benchmark was raised. And we found out that last year's benchmark scales were based off a normed study that was done in 18-19 of about 9,000 students. But our new benchmark scale that we're now using this year is based off a norm study from the 21-22 school year of almost 2 million students. So it's a much larger sample size, and therefore it raised the bar for our students. So our staff are also adjusting to these higher benchmark expectations. So you'll see this as something that we're noticing through all of our, second through fifth grade. Okay. So now we're switching to math. And for these slides, it's important to note that the triangle on the right is the fall and the triangle on the left is the most recent. So this data shows that our winter benchmark, more kindergarten students have mastered the grade level content, so we want to see more green, and so that's what we're seeing from fall to winter. Okay. For first grade math, this data shows that first grade has been able to eliminate all students in need of Tier 3 math intervention. Okay. Second grade, this data demonstrates that continuous trend of decreasing the number of students in need of Tier 3 math intervention and increasing the number of students who have shown mastery of grade level skills. I talked to some of my teachers about the data and wondered why we're seeing such a large cohort in yellow across kindergarten through second grade. They shared with me that the measurement, data, and geometry doesn't become a focus until the spring, yet they are tested on these skills at the diagnostic test. So therefore, many of my teachers anticipate there will be a positive jump for our kids from winter to spring as these domains are focused on. So we look forward to seeing the impact of that instruction. Okay. So I've already talked to you about what the data demonstrates. So we'll jump to the next slide so I can talk about goals. So while we did set school improvement goals at the beginning of the year, looking at our winter benchmark data, we were able to set even more targeted goals between now and spring. So that's what's reflected on this slide. Okay. So this really captures, well, what are we going to do based on that winter benchmark data? So in reading and in math in kindergarten through second grade, we've really looked closely at that Tier 2 and Tier 3 level of intervention groups. We've been able to exit kids back into the Tier 1 level, and we've invited new students in that now are showing that they need additional intervention. We've also looked carefully at what intervention materials we were using, and if they weren't showing that they were helping kids grow, we've made changes to what materials we're using. We have a before-school learning lab at Wolfle that serves kids Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of each week. It has a reading and a math focus. We were able to invite more students into that program, offering them some additional support before school. And we also noticed, while I was observing across the school, that our paraeducators needed more training on the intervention materials. We often hire our paraeducators and then just send them off on their schedule, and they don't get enough training to effectively implement the curriculum. And so we saw that need, and in February, during those half days, we were able to provide some very specific focused training for those individuals, which was great. And then the other exciting thing that our teachers have been very open to doing is typically you help remediate students after they show that they don't understand a concept. But a teacher at our school kind of flips that. And instead of helping students after they've shown that they don't understand something, she started pre-teaching prerequisite skills before units of instruction. And it shows really strong growth in her data. And she presented to our staff, and many of our staff are also now pre-teaching small differentiated groups. And so instead of kids failing and then needing support, our teachers are looking at prerequisite skills, front-loading children, and then they're able to start the unit with like the dust brushed off their skills, and they're more confident, they're participating better in class. And I think this is just a wonderful approach to helping kids instead of waiting to see a need exist.
The professional development for the paras on intervention tools, is that just in reading or is that across the board?
It was just in reading in February, but I think it's something that needs to happen in all the different areas that our paraeducators serve our students. And so I think it's something we're highly aware of now and want to strengthen, especially next year. And it's definitely something that our paras are very open to. They were so excited to receive the training that they received. Slide. Oh, I forgot to mention, we also had a March readathon, and our students have read over 32,000 pages in the month of March. So we're hoping that really helps. It's hard to get kids to pick up a book when they get home. They all want to be on their devices, so it was a great way to get them to pick up books. So for goal number 2, we know that in order for our students to learn, the culture and climate of our school is a high factor, as well as strong attendance. Next slide. This is just our school improvement plan goals that we set at the beginning of the year. Slide. This slide demonstrates how many people took our survey, and much like Kingston Middle School, if you look at the data across the bottom, our staff and our students are very successful at taking the surveys because we make them do it in a meeting, or we have them do it in specialists. However, our families are so busy, and I don't know about you, but my inbox is so full. And it's so easy for something to get buried and not find the time to take a survey. And so one thing that we'd like to do is, we only had 77 families respond to our survey. We want to create an opportunity, an event at our school during the panorama survey in the spring, and carve out the time for our families. So while they're waiting for that event to start, we have the QR codes everywhere. We give them the time and space to quickly get it done. And so that's a strategy that we're going to use to try to get more input from our families. Next slide. This data shows that our families and students are feeling more favorable about the climate and culture at Wolfle since they last took the survey. The largest increase was with our families answering favorably to the questions regarding if Wolfle felt like it was a good fit for their child. That's really important to us, so that's great. Slide. We have seen a slight drop in our climate data with our staff, yet these scores are still generally high when compared to other schools across our district. And I think it's more of I believe that this is more of an indication of just a variety of different factors, new curriculum adoption, just challenges. You know, being an educator is very challenging. And so we work really hard to take care of our staff, and I'll be sharing a little bit about that in a moment. And we do have some Wolfle staff here tonight, so thank you for being here. Next slide. Our student cell data in grades 3 through 5 indicates the continued need for work around self-efficacy, handling challenging feelings that occur, and self-management. Right? And also, strong regular attendance continues to be a challenge for us. We worked hard to communicate the importance of this with our families in lots of different ways. Our goal is to never fall below 90%, but we still have work to do at creating systems that can help target this even more. You can see the photo of Lisa Poole. She's the first grade teacher at our school, and we wear Attendance Matters t-shirts every Tuesday as a staff to just help promote attendance of our students. And so that continues. Our ASB came up with an idea last year to have classroom incentives for attendance, and that's continuing this year. And then one thing I think we've done a better job of this year is we meet monthly to see who are our chronically absent students, and we partner them up with either the counselor or myself or other adults in the building, and we have weekly check-ins with those students, and they earn incentives that are meaningful and personalized to them to try to help reward them for coming to school. And I would say out of the 10 kids that check in with me on a weekly basis, I would say it works for about 60% of them, but that's better than not. So we're going to continue to try to find ways. Next slide. So I've already talked about what the data demonstrates, and if we move on to the next one, those are those goals that we've set between now and the end of the school year. Next slide. So this talks about what are we doing to help in those areas. So I already talked about hosting a large event during family survey window. We also have a lot of fun at Wolfle. We really try to support each other, and we have an active social committee that plans not only something fun at school for our staff each month, but also off-campus things, like a ghost tour in Port Gamble and things like that, which are fun. This month, because it's a very long stretch between, this time period between winter break and spring break. And that's when we see the energy level dip in not only our students, but our staff. So we're focusing on wellness right now. So right now at Wolfle, we have March Wolfle Wellness Bingo. And staff are really working hard on doing things that take care of themselves, so they're in a good place to take care of our students. And they can turn in their bingo board by the end of the month, and I have all kinds of prizes for staff. The Bliss Spa in Kingston donated a facial, so everybody's really excited about that. So that's what we're doing for March. And then Jeremy Sullivan came out and did a great lesson with my staff on how to use the panorama, each specific lessons that target the cell data that are low, the cell data areas that are low, and teaching the teachers how to access that as a tool. Okay? Last goal, I'm sorry, mine's longer than yours. We're gonna focus on our upper grades, so our third grade students through our middle school students. This slide is from our school improvement plan. And next slide, we'll dig into our data just a little bit. So this is our third and fourth grade reading data. Based on this data, the number of students in third grade that need Tier 3 reading support, it actually increased from fall to winter. Again, back to that mid-year goal increase, this is really important to know. The mid-year goal has been for third grade, 85 words per minute. That's what teachers have been used to trying to get kids to for middle of the year. And that increased to 105 words per minute this year. It's a big jump. In fact, the end of year goal for last year used to be 100, and so mid-year it's now 105. So we're really adjusting to that large jump in what we're expecting our students to do.
Deb, can I ask a question about how many third grade students do you have in options? Because it didn't make a lot of.
We only have, so we have 9 third graders.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of thought there was probably something like that.
Yeah, it's a 2-3 class. According to this data, the number of fourth grade students that are showing above benchmark skills in Tier 1 actually doubled since fall. So we're seeing good growth there. But then again, we have 4 more students in need of Tier 3 support. But the great thing about our staff is when they look at this data and they see like 1 student in red or, 2 students in green, the staff know exactly who those kids are. In fact, I know exactly. So we have an eye on our students very closely. Okay? Based on our 5th grade data, we are going to want to take this opportunity to revise our plan for Tier 2 and Tier 3 supports, because based on this data, what we're doing is currently not effective. So we're taking a look at that programming. We have reduced the number of students that need Tier 2 and Tier 3 interventions, though, in our options 5th grade classroom. Slide. This data shows middle school, and it looks like a math chart, but it's actually reading. They do iReady reading in middle school. And this data shows how our middle school option students are performing, and the triangles are moving in the right direction. And as you can see, we only have 14% of our students in need of Tier 3 services, and this is a change from 25% in the fall. Okay. Switching to math for third grade. When I talked to a teacher on this team, they said the same thing as elementary. We haven't taught geometry and measurement yet. Come on. So we're excited to see how that's going to impact our data. Next slide. This is 4th grade, and this slide also shows that our 4th graders are increasing their math skills. There was a jump from 4% of our students at Tier 1 to 25%. You see how skinny that green was at the beginning and how much larger it is now. Our students needing Tier 3 interventions decreased from 51% to 36%. And then based on this assessment, if you look at the 4th grade options, there are no longer any students needing Tier 3 math services. Next slide. 5th grade, we still have a large percentage of our fifth graders who need tier 3 supports. And so our teachers recognize this, our teams have come together, and we're working on some solutions there. And then fifth grade options, again, not needing any tier 3 supports at this time. Slide. Middle school options math. As you can see from this data, our middle school data, fewer students are needing tier 2 and tier 3 math interventions. This is largely due to our middle school teacher who contributed a significant amount of time and conversations and stress. And Nat, raise your hand, who's back there. That's Nat, he's the teacher of our middle school options. We've had so many conversations about how our kids needed help in math, and his efforts have definitely been successful. So, next slide. This just summarizes what I already shared. The next slide are those new goals that we've set. And then finally, we have our action plan on the next slide. Again, very similar to the K2s, we've adjusted our groups. We've increased our collaboration between our classrooms and intervention staff, looked at the programming for what we're doing, invited more kids to get math and reading help, and really just teaching. The teachers have really made that commitment to do that prerequisite teaching also in those upper grades to help front load students skills that they need. And finally, my last slide, you're probably all excited. So I'm known for wearing overalls at school, and last year the staff and students surprised me, and they all wore their overalls to celebrate Principal Appreciation Day. So carrying on this theme tonight, I just want to report with confidence that overall, Wolfle is making strong growth. And over the past 2 years, we've been working hard to create systems to help our school run smoothly. Our district has adopted new math and reading curriculum so that we have research-based materials to use for instruction. But honestly, the secret to success is what you see in that photo. I could not be prouder of the team we have at Wolfle. Every day I get to witness staff encouraging staff, teams taking on challenges together, incredible empathy and compassion for our students, small acts of kindness and gratitude, and the most important thing is humor, because it helps us get through every day together. They never give up in spite of a magnitude of challenges that we face every day. And if you want to be inspired, restore your faith in humanity, or be reminded why we are engaged in this difficult yet rewarding work, just come visit Wolfle. We'd love to have you.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. It's important that we recognize, you have a unique school, you're K through 8, and definitely reflected. And thank you for highlighting not just the successes, but the challenges. That's always important. It's less helpful for us if you just come in and talk about everything's great. It's important to talk about the things we need to work on, because that helps us understand. So thank you.
I just had a couple of questions. Did you used to have the roving reader program there? Because I did notice when I visited the school's PTA events, there's a lot of people who come, and it seems like it'd be nice to get some of those parents, maybe, or grandparents, into reading with the kids during the day.
Yeah, it's a good question. So Stephanie Pugh, also a teacher here tonight, she has led the volunteer efforts at Wolfle for years. And Wolfle was always known as a school that had just an incredible amount of volunteers. And we are slowly building that back up. So thanks to Steph, we do have a lot of volunteers that come in and students, but we definitely want to grow the program. She could answer, I do this a lot. Steph, did we use roving readers before?
Yes, we did.
Okay, she's our historical Wolfle person. I meant that nicely. And so it's something that we want to grow, and we are, I think every year we seem to get more and more and more, but we don't currently do the roving.
Who is it that leads the before-school learning lab?
Our reading intervention TOSA, Kara Syverson, and our math reading intervention, Lee Rosenbach.
So it's certified teachers.
And paraeducators.
Great, because I really think the opportunity to front load that information during the learning lab and training the aides so that they are more focused on the kind of skills and strategies at work. Really a smart move. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation, and it seems like you've really taken some, robust, ideas and put them at work with your staff and the students. I'm also a Wolfle Wolf. So I have a special place in my heart for Wolfle and for Stephanie Pugh too, and Lisa. So it's nice to see, the growth and the continued work that you're doing around that. I know how important our community volunteers, our paras, and just in general, our staff all are to that. So, thank you for really working with your team, and I think the more teamwork there really makes the dream work, so it's showing. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, and again, I'll say thank you very much. It's good to see you, and, yeah, excellent presentation.
You should feel free to stay up front and have everybody stare at you, or, go to staff.
Okay, thank you. The next item, agenda item is 6.1, public comment. The North Kitsap School Board of Directors welcomes the public to this open public meeting. In accordance with board policy and state law, board meetings must be conducted in a civil, orderly, and business-like manner, which means we must all follow the same standard of civility during school board meetings. Value public comments. If you would like to speak to potential items on the agenda, you may sign up to speak using the sign-up sheets that are included on the meeting agenda and on the school district's website. Both virtual and in-person attendees may sign up for public comment. The board sets aside a maximum of 2 30-minute public comment periods per meeting. Speakers wishing to comment on agenda items will be prioritized in the first public comment period to allow for the board to hear comments prior to board action or consideration. Individual speakers will have 3 minutes for their comments. Speakers may not donate some or all of their time to another speaker, and the person who signed up to comment should be the person who addresses the board. No speaker may speak more than once per meeting, even if there is time remaining. The board will not respond to statements, questions, or challenges made during the public comment period. The board may ask district staff to contact the speaker at a later time to follow up on issues raised during the public comment period. When it's your turn to speak, please approach the podium if you're in person. If you're commenting via Zoom, you'll be promoted to panelist on Zoom. You must then turn on your video and microphone to make public comment. Finally, please remember that your words have impact. We value our community's feedback, and we welcome your comments. Thank you. Okay, so we have 7 members signed up for public comment. We're going to do the Zoom members first, and then we'll shift over to in-person. So the first person on Zoom is Stacy Smeckel.
They're pretty tiny. Can you see me? Can you hear me? I don't hear you, so good to go? Okay. A lot has happened since January 25th when you went into executive session for the superintendent evaluation. I was pleased when I saw superintendent contract on Friday's agenda, as I yet to hear if Mr. Desmond fulfilled his contractual obligation as board president. My public record request, board documents, and public comments have all been void of your action and response. I assume you did not meet your responsibility and have no intention. Will your lack of accountability cost North Kitsap students EP&O levy funds intended for their enrichment? I hope not. I wrote asking you to terminate your contract with the superintendent and discharge her. A resignation effective June 30th leaves far more questions than answers. Will this be with pay from the EP&O levy funds necessary to provide programs, transportation, sports, reasonable class sizes, and extracurricular activities? Will Superintendent Evans still have access to district resources, a title, or responsibilities? I keep hearing Rachel Davenport is the acting superintendent, but how and when did this occur? Again, my public record, board documents, and action show you, as the board of directors, have not taken any public action to place Rachel Davenport in the role of acting superintendent. I will point out the amendment made on August 24th, 2023 to Rachel Davenport's contract with you, the board, states, and I quote, 1, authority to serve as acting superintendent. The superintendent is hereby authorized to designate employee as acting superintendent during periods of extended absence during the 2023-2024 school year. During such periods, employee is intended to have authority to exercise all powers and duties of the superintendent as set forth by law, contract, or district policy, subject to the discretion of the board. 2, per diem pay. While acting as superintendent, the superintendent shall designate in writing to employ those dates when employee is expected to act as superintendent. Upon such authorization, employee shall receive a supplement to her regular salary sufficient to match the per diem pay provided in sections 8D and E of the superintendent's employment contract. Superintendent Evans had to designate an employee as acting superintendent. When did that happen? Did the superintendent designate in writing to Rachel Davenport those dates when Rachel is expected to act as superintendent? It is time for restoration. It's time for us to take steps to move forward in restoring communication, transparency, and trust. It's time for you as a board to direct, not dictate, not follow, direct, as the directors of the North Kitsap School Board. I hope you'll start taking time and care for your essential business in public and begin the process of providing an acting superintendent while we wait for you to begin the process of finding our next North Kitsap School District Superintendent. Thank you.
Okay, can you guys hear me? Okay, it blew it up so big and now I don't have my thing I was gonna say. My name is Carissa Burke, and first I wanted to start by thanking the board for making moves towards transparency by recording the meetings and publishing those meeting videos. I would like to encourage you to take it a step further by publishing written transcripts of the video, which is really easy to do with AI tools, as well as consider publishing the audio portion of the video as a podcast to increase accessibility and the number of people who are able to stay up to date on what is happening at the board meetings. If this feels tricky or overwhelming to you, I promise it's not hard, and I'm happy to help if you guys get really stuck, but it's something you want to do. But what I really want to say is two other things. First, regarding the consent agenda item on staff changes and specifically the resignation of Lauren Evans. Lauren has been on paid leave now for more than a month, and the judge at her trial made really clear that should she not follow her diversion agreement, she's very likely to be found guilty at her follow-up hearing because it was clear to him she actually committed the act she was being accused of. And this is just cause to end her employment with the district effective immediately. And I would encourage you not to continue to keep her on the payroll through the end of June like her resignation is dated, and to go ahead and sever ties now. Let her go, save that money that you would have otherwise paid to help us find our next rockstar superintendent. And second, I wanted to talk about how I know that these last couple of months have been extremely stressful time to be a board member, that you guys have been constantly barraged by emails and public comments, people disagreeing with you, choices that you've made, people sharing their opinions on the fate of your friend, and all of that can feel really personal. And I would like to encourage you to not let hostility build up in your heart toward the community that you were elected to serve. When it's working well, the school board's supposed to collaborate with parents in the community, and it shouldn't operate on an us versus them mentality. There are dozens of families who are activated and invested in the school board in a way that hasn't happened recently, and you should take steps to make them your partners and not your adversaries, and use this as an opportunity to build community in the North Kitsap School District. Ways that I think that you can continue to show good faith and a collaborative approach include broadening the window to sign up to speak. Other districts do it from the point that their agenda is posted. Allow everyone who signs up to make a public comment to speak at meetings and not limit it to 10. Create communities such as a committee such as equity and inclusion committees, and consider adding at-large board members, as well as the suggestions I made about meeting format sharing at the beginning of my comment. I know some of you are interested, and I want to encourage you to lean into that and make the board activity more transparent and accessible for everyone. Thank you.
Catherine, can you go ahead and turn on your camera and unmute your microphone?
Yeah, I'm here, but I'm surprised. This doesn't work well, this whole registration and the timeline and all. I had requested to speak at the end of the board meeting because I wanted to comment on how you did at this board meeting. And I don't know at this point, but I will say some things. I submitted written comments on how things had worked in the past. I was a board member for 8 years, and we had contentious issues, and people spoke nicely about me and not so nicely. And that's just part of the job. That's being a public servant. But we never kept public comments to only a 30-minute period. If people were there at the board meeting and wanted to speak, we let them speak. And sometimes we were there till midnight. But that was okay because we thought that was part of our job. I was waiting to see tonight if you had any discussion about the superintendent's contract, which was on the agenda, but then taken off. Don't we, as the public, whose money is going to support the schools, have a right to know if she's going to be paid a big bunch of money to leave? I don't know how you do that. She's been accused of a crime. And why would you pay somebody money who's been accused of a crime to leave? We need to bring back this community and bring them together and make it work again for North Kitsap. I had great pride in leaving the school board after 8 years. We did a lot of incredible things, and so did the school districts following me. The school boards. You work for the public. The superintendent works for you. She can't tell you not to speak to staff unless she's present. That is your right. Those are your constituents. Get out there and talk to the public, the staff, anybody who wants to talk to you. Include the community. Thank you.
The next public speaker is Kim Gerlach.
I'm sure I have more than 3 minutes worth of comments, but I'm going to start with 20 weeks of paid administrative leave for Lauren Evans equals about $109,000. So I think what we're doing is teaching our children that crime does pay in North Kitsap School District. So, something else I have to say is in the last meeting, one of the directors asked to look into why the Suquamish tribe pulled their endorsement of the bond. Who was tasked with that responsibility? What was the outcome of that inquiry? Had the Suquamish tribe endorsed the bond? A record request did not show an endorsement. If there was an endorsement, will you please forward a copy of it to me? If there was no endorsement, why are you and the public under the assumption that one existed? I sent all of you an email on March 8th. I'm still waiting for your answers to my questions and comments regarding public comment changes. Why did you add an end time to the meeting? Will this end time prohibit you from conducting all your board business? Will the last public comment section or board business be eliminated? I would like clarification with, please email your comments in advance to within 24 hours of the school board meeting. Previously, it was by 2 p.m. of the day of the meeting. Why are you making this more restrictive? Under public comments, the district website says, please note that online form must be used whether your comments will be made in person or in Zoom or via Zoom. I'm concerned that you are potentially excluding those without internet access, those unable to be in person at the district office early enough to sign up for first come, first speak list. Including a call registration was mentioned previously. Why is that option not available? You eliminate all these challenges by simply allowing all those who wish to speak the opportunity to do so. I need clarification on what section of the OPMA prohibits any of you from engaging with the public during public comment section of your meetings. Your own policy, 1400, allows you to respond. It simply says, quote, the board is not obligated to respond. What concerns all of you that you would be out, what concerns all of you that you would be out of OPMA compliance if you talk to the North Kitsap School District employees you hired or those who elected you? A minimum of 64% of the voting public on the bond have lost trust in your district, the district you all are in charge of. Do you feel responsibility to gain our trust? If so, these baby steps are insufficient. I hope you will do the absolute maximum you are capable to include your community. A few suggestions currently would be to have unlimited number of speakers, begin the sign-up period when the agenda is available to the public, which should coincide with the board, the Friday before the meeting as per policy 1420, eliminate the new 8:30 p.m. end time, accept written comments until 2 p.m. the day of the meeting, personally respond. At a minimum, allow speakers to defer their spots to others if you're not willing to accept an unlimited number of speakers. Many people say it's uncomfortable to have the cabinet behind us during the meetings. Please consider them moving them to the side or behind you. Oh boy, I'm over. So I've got a lot more to say, but you have it in the letter. You have it in the letter. So read the letter, and I would appreciate a response. Thank you.
The next speaker is Ted Judge.
Good evening. Ted Jez, North Kitsap Education Association President. First, I'm happy to be here and share common hopes and ideas for a collaborative future with NKSD board directors, district leadership, all staff, and our loving parents and community. Our collective message has been clear. The change we need cannot happen with the status quo. I look forward to the acceptance of the resignation of Lauren Evans tonight and the potential for healing and growth immediately following. Those that cannot get behind our new approach and cling to the hurtful practices of the past should also resign. February 22nd, I shared a feeling of hope with the changes to policies and procedures to school board meetings. I am cautiously optimistic and have a genuine desire to again make North Kitsap a great place to live and learn. We have seen changes in school board operations that are more welcoming and accommodating to our students, staff, and community. Invitations for larger but more transparent and representative focus groups are welcomed. Communications seem genuine. Let's work together and heal from past practices, stay true to our mission, and help our students. Together, we can undo what has broken us. As we search for a superintendent that represents the needs and goals of our district, I'd like the board to consider a slightly different approach to finding candidates. Having been a part of NK for the last 25 years, I have seen policies that limit who can apply and a superintendent search firm that has failed us 3 times. We all know 3 strikes is bad. Please consider the current state of NKSD. We need someone who is trustworthy, honest, sincere, caring, listens, collaborates transparently, and puts students first. Anything less does not belong in NK. We want to partner with the district and our community to help students. We are hungry for collaboration with all who are dedicated and solution-oriented. NKEA believes in the expertise and passion of our members, and we call on the board to bring us into the conversations. Please talk with us, please listen, and please remember it's about the kids. They're why we do this. Thank you.
The next speaker is Linda Holt.
Hi, good evening. I had a couple of topics I was going to speak about tonight, but the first one was the statement you made before public comments, and if I'm not mistaken, that's been tweaked a little because the ones I've heard before, especially the one that threatened to call the police during public comments if something occurred, were disrespectful. They were intimidating. They bordered on threatening. It's all about the presentation, and that was a bad presentation. I feel like it was better tonight. Could be wrong, but I think it was. Second comment that I want to make is, during the last meeting, it was requested that the Squamish land acknowledgement be read. I prepared notes on 2. One, if you did it, it was on your agenda to read the land acknowledgement, and thanking you for reaching out, for hearing that request and doing it. It's in almost every meeting that I go to, it's read. It's not in the agenda, I haven't read, so I'm going to read it to the attendees here. Every part of this soil is sacred in the estimation of my people. Every hillside, every valley, every plain and grove has been hallowed by some sad or happy event in days long vanished. Chief Seattle, 1854. We would like to begin by acknowledging that the land on which we gather is within the ancestral territory of the Squamish people of clear salt water. Expert fishermen, canoe builders, and basket weavers, the Squamish live in harmony with the lands and waterways along Washington's Central Salish Sea, as they have for thousands of years. Here, the Squamish live and protect land and waters of their ancestors for future generations, as promised by the Point Elliott Treaty of 1855. I'll sign up to read the land acknowledgement each meeting that I'm here. If we don't include it in the agenda, it's been requested. I appreciate the time, and I appreciate the Squamish people upon whose land we live.
Thank you. The final speaker is Amanda Nelson.
Good evening, Board, Acting Superintendent Davenport, and community members. My name is Amanda Nelson, co-president of the North Kitsap Public School Employees Chapter. I'm here tonight to speak on behalf of our unit, which represents nearly 260 employees in the North Kitsap School District. Last June, our members took a strong vote of no confidence in Superintendent Evans and the Standing School Board at that time. Due to varying circumstances, those votes did not get submitted. We are committed to ensure the voices of our members are heard. At our last general membership meeting on February 28th, we reaffirmed these votes. Our PSE union is a solution-based organization. Originally, the outcome we were asking for were resolutions we felt could help our school district get back to being a strong and inclusive district. With the superintendent, clearly circumstances have changed, and our members saw the only solution was to have Dr. Evans resign or be terminated. As noted in the personnel recommendations for this board meeting, this solution has come to fruition. The second vote of reaffirmation is to continue to support our vote of no confidence in the board as it stood in June of 2023. We recognize that there has already been a change, and we are hopeful that that can continue going forward. Since we are a resolution-based union, here are a few examples of what we would like to see. For the board to get back to frequent visits in our schools. An example of something that used to occur is mystery readers with our elementary students. This keeps an actual pulse and firsthand knowledge of what's going on with the communities who elected you. Regular public access to the board members to be able to discuss everyday issues happening in our schools where we are free to have discussions. Translators and interpreters available at every board meeting in our top 3 languages and ASL. Get union leadership feedback before making decisions that will affect their union, not just trusting what is on paper. We all know data is very important, and as a sped para and newly certified teacher, I love me some good data. But there is more to the story than just what's on that piece of paper. Ask courageous questions and do not be afraid to challenge the leaders presenting the information to you. Weigh all the options when giving upper management raises that could cover the wages and benefits of several classified employees who are in dire need. We all know our schools cannot function without them. Thank you for your time and open ears. We are choosing to have faith moving forward and are pushing for all of us to go in the right direction. Respectfully, me.
Okay, thank you. That concludes this evening's public comments. The next agenda item is 6.2, board comments. Does any board member have a comment they would like to share with the rest of the board?
Is that working?
Good. Yeah, I just want to share, so attended the Suquamish PTA meeting earlier in the week, which was, it's good to hear from the local folks there. Hope to be able to do more of that in my time remaining. And then I wanted to share, and I got permission before I did it. So in the last 10 days, I've been at meetings where twice on the screen there's been a picture of our very own Laurie Strong. The Puget Sound Regional Council over in Seattle, there was a picture. I wasn't sure why, and then this last one, I figured out why. And that's because she is our Miss West Sound 2024 this year. And so I wanted to congratulate her this evening and give her a quick round of applause. And I'm going to save my voice, and that's all for them.
Any comments?
I have a couple of comments.
Okay.
First of all, I'd like to thank Corey Henry and Rachel Davenport for stepping into the huge gap and keeping us all on track and moving this district forward. And the professionalism that I've seen at Finland and at Gordon and at Wolfle, the schools that I've visited, they're doing an excellent job. Also, thank you, Rachel, for clarifying our comments because you're our secretary of the board, which is something I didn't know when I was sitting out there. I'm also hopeful that there'll be fewer public record requests now that our board meetings are being published and recorded. Those requests have been costing our district thousands of dollars to produce.
I'll just share, I was with Rick at the Suquamish PTO meeting, which was, it was great, yeah, just to be there and, that opportunity.
I think I'd be remiss probably not to equitably honor the Treaty of Point No Point of 1855, where also these lands are attributed to the Port Gaba-Slalom tribe as well in differing viewpoints. So I just wanted to point that out, and I love this community. Y'all have stepped up. Y'all have supported us and guided us. I look forward to continuing on forward.
the amount of professionalism, like Bev said, shown by district, staff, Rachel and Corey especially, and all the others in the back, has just really been appreciated, helpful, and just so, wonderful to have such a strong team, I think especially in a time like this. So I'm just extremely grateful that after 6 years of attempting to get on the board and being on the board, I can work with such wonderful people, for the next almost 4.
So I have, I'll just start my comments. I attended the facility committee meeting on February 29th. I just want to provide you guys with an update on that. I think, overall, the mood of the committee members was disappointed in the performance of the bond. I think that's large part due to the amount of work that was put into that committee. Some of the committee members have been working on that since 2018. So I think it's really important to acknowledge how much work, research, thought, went into developing, what was the bond that the community saw. And again, a reminder, those committee members are, for the most part, community members. So, again, we talked about leading up to the bond, and that was a community-generated bond presentation. I'd say the other thing is the first, the committee could be potentially changing. There's been communication gone out for asking for, any additional members of the committee. Did you want to?
Yeah, we have applications that are coming in, and we're really excited to expand the voice of the committee and have a representative committee of our entire district of staff, classified, certificated, as well as families of our students inside our buildings.
So the real big thing coming out of that was that the committee overall was just asking for direction from the board about what is the next step. So we really just wanted to kind of present that to you and start thinking about it, potentially at the next board meeting during the board comment period. We can do that a little more. I kind of have ideas. I think some things that we should potentially look at are first, go look through that bond program. What were the items that were in there that were addressing immediate needs that, that committee needs to identify and bring to our attention? That's important. Second would be an updated facility condition assessment. The last one that was done was in 2018. To usually recommend anywhere from 3 to 5 years about redoing that. I think that's important. And I'll just highlight a couple things. Things have really changed since 2018. In our last report, the average construction cost was listed as about $300. In Washington State, it averages now about twice. It was $310, and in Washington State, it averages at $600 per square foot. That was in a letter that Chris Reichel sent to the governor related to SCAP funding. So, the other thing is just the repair costs in there have increased. They were $172 million. With inflation, it's roughly about $212 million. We're also going to be, the next condition assessment will look out further. It was 2037, we'll look out to 2044. So that dollar amount would probably increase anywhere, above $212 million. Do that. The other thing is that in that last report, Wolfle Elementary was recommended by the firm for replacement. That I know that there were some communications within the community, some of the committees that, basically said that Wolfle was in good condition. Really what they were pointing to was an ICOS screenshot. ICOS is the program the state used to track our building condition assessment scores. They were really only pointing to one system within that entire building, so I think that was very misleading. But if you go out and look for the next report, I think you'll probably be pulling in Gordon Elementary and Vinland Elementary that are going to be, probably close to meeting that threshold for replacement too. So just the overall dollar value is going to be different. So again, the recommendation that we provide some direction to that committee, potentially looking at what are immediate needs, how do we fund those, looking at a new condition assessment so we can get an updated 20-year view and develop strategic
haven't seen the budget results, but Chris did ask, for the governor to increase the construction cost funding. I think right now it's paid at 250, or compensated 250, per square foot. I think they asked for a raise to 400 or 450.
I think it netted out at like 375.
Yeah, they didn't get what they asked for, but, and it still doesn't meet need, but it's better than it was, so.
Are the projects at Suquamish going forward? They were part of the levy, right?
They were part of the levy dollars, so the Suquamish gym is going forward. We did have, on-site, contacted, our building principal, our staff, our PE teacher, our office manager, and had, the study go down and actually meet with them, and show the mock-ups and the blueprints of, the new gym there at that site. And then this past Monday at the PTA meeting, we presented again where, the meeting went very well. Questions, were answered at that time, and so that project is moving forward.
Is there one more building project that's part of that levy?
There's quite a few more projects, small works projects that are part of that levy. And then next board meeting, I believe we're having, a traffic facilities project update.
Any other comments? So next item is, board reports. Does any board member have a report to share in regard to their assigned liaison position?
Yeah, so the legislature ended, I'm gonna pass it down. So, this is from Marissa Rathbone at WASDA, who put together a much better product than I would ever be able to produce. With all the bills this session that had impact on schools. So this is, each bill, a summary of the bill, timeline of implementation, and then, if there's a curriculum impact, if there's a cost impact, so just something to look for. And then I forwarded the soft copy to Rachel and Corey, so if you want to actually get the file, they can forward it on. But, as you can see, there were a lot. So, you know, there was some that we were following and really pushing for. There were some that were a little less on the radar, some that were just not really sure what the long-term impact will be based on how it was written. So, I didn't want to hand that out tonight. Not gonna go over it because it's a lot. And I honestly could not tell you everything that's in there because there was a lot. But, that's something to look at. And then Marissa is available. I did reach out to her, with the idea that with me, stepping down here in the future, I understand and recognize that there will not be legislative experience on the board, with my replacement and with all of you. So I did ask Marissa to essentially be on tap to help you all out, as well as our DA4 ledge reps, Karen Bolton from Bremerton and, Denise Tracy from DK. So that not to leave y'all hanging, you know, and Marissa immediately responded and said she's more than willing to come up, remote in, do training, just whatever you all need. And as you can see, she's extremely competent at her job. She's awesome. So, yeah, she'll be standing by to help you all out in the future, and particularly as you roll into next year, the long session, the General Assembly in the fall, all that kind of stuff, so.
Rick, we really appreciate you doing that. And was there any, summary of the Parents' Bill of Rights that you'd like to share? I mean, I went online twice to try to read it. It was, the whole history of it is there, but.
You mean the initiative?
Yeah, the initiative.
So 3 of the initiatives passed, of the 6. There were three were given hearings. Parents' Bill of Rights was one of them. And the legislature did pass that on both houses. The others was the pursuit. Okay, these were outside of education side. The police pursuit bill, and the, no income tax initiative. I believe those are the 3 that got hearings, and they passed both houses with significant majorities. The other 3 were not taken up, did not get hearings, so they will, presumably be on the ballots in the fall. But, yeah, there was a lot of, it was very interesting. There was a lot of things that were on, that went into session and some died and will come back and some we don't know, so, but, yeah, it was interesting to see some of the stuff. Senator Mullet, when I was back in Olympia the second time, spoke in a way that gave me a lot of confidence, at least that some of the legislators really understand the concerns, talking about pushing electrification of the state too quickly. Because I know you've heard me all talk about the buses, but we're also pushing ferries, we're also pushing private vehicles, we're also pushing lawn equipment, we're also pushing, and so, you know, he recognized that we need to get the infrastructure in place first. So, a lot of work for a short session, I'll just say that.
Corey, I would imagine this will be added, a link to this in the minutes, then, awesome.
I have a report for the city council. I'm the rep for the city council, and just a few happy things. The fish park is going to have a big celebration on April 20th from 10 to 2. We encourage families to go and participate. And Vinland is having their Fin to the Finish 5K run on April 27th from 9 to 10:30. People are encouraged to come and participate. And the Garden Club is having a sale on May 4th if you need some new plants. Oh, from 9 to 1 at Rand Park.
And, I'll share, I attended, KCAC last night, which is the Kingston Community Advisory Council. And it actually was a very interesting presentation. The Kitsap County Public Works and, Washington State Ferries were there to share kind of an update on the overall project is the Kingston Ferry Traffic Congestion Mitigation Project. But for those of you who might not have heard of the ATMS before, but it is the Active Traffic Management System. So, that's gonna be the first phase, and they are now in the design process, so they were there to share information about this. I won't go into detail, but if you live in Kingston or ride the ferry or has gotten caught in the congestion in that area, I would encourage you to go onto the KCAC website. The whole, slide presentation is there because, it looks like there is funding for this project, so it is going to happen, but it'll be automated. Instead of somebody, Washington State Patrol, giving you the ticket, it's all gonna be automated. There's gonna be a whole system. Like I said, I won't go into detail, but it's in the design phase, but then fall, winter, they're gonna be taking input from the community. And so again, I would encourage you, if you have a vested interest, to, give your feedback, because it is gonna be about whether this system is continuous or non-continuous. And I bring that up because, you know, living in Kingston and traffic and our schools, and that means rerouting how a lot of that ferry traffic would go, whether it's continuous or non-continuous. So again, I know I feel very strongly about this and would like to have input, and so again, I would encourage anybody else, to get involved, because they are looking fall, winter, and then, construction. They're hoping to have it operational by Mother's Day next year, so 2025. That is the plan. Also, KCAC right now, there's 2 open positions, so they are taking applications. So again, if anyone, in the audience or the Zoom audience, is interested and, you know, lives in Kingston or the area, go to the website, and you can apply there. If you have any questions or issues, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I can help you with that as well. And I also just quickly, this was, Steve Peacock from the port did share for all of us. I know we included that go and park down at the ferry, the 2-hour parking, that maybe we've kind of gotten used to that not being, monitored so closely. He did share that they have somebody now who is monitoring that. So I wanted to put a heads up, just kind of a, hey, it's on your radar, so just maybe what we all, you know, kind of push that 2-hour limit. Maybe just watch that, because we may not be so lucky, in the future.
Or maybe the port will get greater support via tickets, I suppose.
Yeah. Actually, Stacy, if we could not attach to the minutes just yet, because that was not a final product, Marissa shares that with me to share with you all.
Get a final one out when it comes.
Yeah, it will be on the WASDA website when she finalizes it, so, I don't wanna, overstep if we attach it to our minutes, because I did ask her for something to share with you all in advance, so it will be on the WASDA website under strategic advocacy when it's finalized.
I do see that it just got done yesterday, so thank you for.
Yeah, she might
Okay.
tweak it yet, so I wanted to commit her to what she gave me, so to share with you all.
So for, my board report, I, attended the Intertribal Parent Education Committee meeting on, Tuesday, February 27th. It was held at the Port Gamble S'Klallam, Council Chambers, and, I just want to thank, the president, Corey, ran a great meeting, Corey Sylvie, and they did a wonderful job. They've really been working on getting parent, input and participation, and compared to when I've attended in the past, they're really, it's gaining, but they still would like to see more, parent involvement in that parent education committee. It's open to all, parents and families of any tribal children in our district, can feel free to give their input. There's a meeting schedule and, such that goes along with that. If anyone reaches out, I'd be happy to connect them. I received it from the liaisons of the district. It was just a good opportunity. For me, I did not, actively take part. It's not my meeting, but I was able to just, sort of be there and be present, and so that was really good. I anticipate attending, each of them in the future as long as they'll have me. And I was able to meet with both, education directors from Port Gamble and Suquamish on Monday with Brenda and Tony. We had just a good little meeting, to kind of meet and greet a little bit, and, so they could put a face to my name, and such. I think, they're very excited, and Suquamish, is looking forward to hosting the, celebration in June at the, Suquamish, reservation, so that's exciting that that's in the works, so a lot of excitement surrounding that. I had something else, but yeah, I would also, like to be a part of, developing what, I know it's come up before at our government-to-government meetings, that we may look further into sort of what, I will say, the land or people acknowledgements look like. So I'd like to be a part of working with the tribes in that. I'm not sure that it's, for me, appropriate that I make or the district makes that decision. So that's something, that I know is, we did talk about that a little bit, the three of us, and in our upcoming Gov2Gov meetings, I'm sure we can, touch on it a little bit too, and get further input from each of the tribes. I think it's really important with our school district. We have kids from, both tribes. We have, schools in both, areas of land, and so I just look forward to developing that more. I think it's important that we fully flesh it out, and really make sure that it's appropriate, so. Yeah.
We did discuss that last time of language that recognizes both, and the other tribes, because we have a lot of other tribal students that are not part of either of those. I did at one point receive, and I'm not gonna be able to find it quick enough, what WASDA uses, which they do refer to as a people's acknowledgement. So it doesn't refer to a specific tribe or geographic area, because as the meetings travel around the state, they're constantly moving.
Yeah.
So I do have that somewhere in my inbox, and I can forward it on again.
It might just be good for that language to be reviewed.
Right, because that was a discussion item last time of what is appropriate for all.
Yeah.
and we have both government-to-government meetings coming up, and,
Yep.
and
Next
instead
few
of
months.
talking just about them, I
Yeah.
think that we talk with them and
Yeah.
understand what they wish us to do.
I think that's what we asked,
Yeah, that would be the goal, I think, for sure.
yeah, I think that's what we asked last time, is
Yep.
they tell us what they want.
So I look forward to being part of that, is what I was getting at, but, thank you.
All right, the next agenda item is superintendent report. Rachel, would you please provide your comments to the board?
Yes, and just a couple of brief comments. I know we have some classified employees here. It is Classified Employee Appreciation Week, and, the work that our classified employees do is immeasurable. We have bus drivers and paraeducators and secretaries and administrators and Corey and Lexi and, our classified employees, we really couldn't do our jobs without them, and it is Appreciation Week for them. So if you have one in your life, if you have a child in school, if you have a grandchild in school, if you know anybody in school, there are classified employees everywhere that make our jobs possible and make our learning environment for our kids so special. So, thank you. You are much appreciated.
So next is, student representative reports. Student representatives, would you please provide your comments to the board? Thank you.
Okay, for Kingston High School, we have conferences next week on Thursday and Friday. The Port Gamble Slalom Tribe will be hosting us in the House of Knowledge on Friday. Not sure what time that is, but Friday. The week before spring break, not next week, but the week after, we have a Spiro Week with some pretty fun days that our ASD came up with. Continuing with the good news, spring sports are off to a good start. Our baseball has 3 straight wins. 2 were blowouts with like 19-2 crazy wins. And then softball has won their first game. I'm also excited to announce that our multicultural celebration will return, and that's going to be on April 12th from 1:25 to 2:25 p.m. That'd be great to see you guys there. About it.
So again, there were no comments in the NK question and suggestions box, and I just wanted to remind students at NK that the box is located at the front entrance of the school on the tables at the main office. And I appreciate updates about sports and extracurriculars from students, but I encourage any students with questions or comments to come forward, because the first step to being change is not being afraid to speak up. Registration open for 8th through 11th graders gearing up for the new school year for high school. And then Equity Club also put out a prejudice survey, which students are able to scan QR codes on the school. The Field by Literacy test is being held on March 27th, and that will give students the opportunity to be recognized in their accomplishment of proficiency in 2 or more languages. Choir and band had their respective concerts last week, and the Jazz Night fundraiser for the choir is this Saturday. And like Mr. Eckert mentioned, I was on the Puget Regional Council Summer Planning Academy this summer, and during the council, we talked about how better community planning can help people lead better lives. And I think the best thing that we can do is to continue to separate ourselves from Dr. Evans. Our community, our district, and our students need to heal, and I think that the best way we can do that is if we learn and work hand in hand with the board, as a board with the community. And I also appreciate that in the last meeting, encouraged student perspective, and that was the hope that I had coming into this role, and what I hope to do in the next few months.
Okay, the next item is 7.1, consent agenda. A motion is needed to approve the consent agenda. Do I have a motion?
I move to accept the consent agenda, items 711 through 716.
Okay, thank you, Rick. We need a second for the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you, Brianne. The motion has been made and seconded. All in favor of the motion?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes?
Yes.
Okay, there are no opposed. The motion passes with a vote of 5, 4, and 0 against. The next item is 7.2, resolution 030124 WIA membership. A motion is needed to discuss resolution 030124 WIAA membership. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Okay, thank you, Brent. We need a second. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. The motion has been made and seconded. Do we have any new comments for discussion? If there is no more discussion, I put the question to vote. All in favor of the motion?
Yes.
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 Yes?
Yes.
Okay, and no opposed. The motion passes, 5-0 for yes. The next item is Paulsville Middle School furniture, fixtures, and equipment FF&E purchase order. A motion is needed to discuss the Paulsville Middle School furniture, fixtures, and equipment purchase order. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve.
All right, thank you, Rick, and we need a second. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Brianne. All right, a motion has been made and seconded. Do we have any new comments for discussion?
I very much look forward to that project being completed.
Yeah, I'll just say, you know, it kind of stuck out when I was looking through the facility condition assessment. That was our second highest replacement expense behind HVAC was furnishings at $29 million over. This is probably just a small step. Okay, any other comments? All right, if there's no more discussion, I put the question to vote. All in favor of the motion?
Yes.
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 Yes?
Yes.
And no opposed. The motion passes with a vote of 5-0 for yes. Okay, the next item is 2025-2026 school calendar. A motion is needed to discuss the 2025-2026 school calendar. Do I have a motion?
Can I move to accept calendar number 2?
Let's wait till we get to discussion. Okay.
Motion to discuss.
Okay, so I need a motion to, okay, so understand. Okay, thank you, Stacy. We need a second. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you, Rick. All right, the motion has been made and seconded. Do we have any new comments for discussion?
I have a comment to make.
Okay.
So I have 3 reasons for accepting calendar 2. My first reason is the teaching staff. That was their first choice, and I think we should respect that. Second is the staff would be given the 3-day weekend to prepare for students' curriculum and their classroom, because the week before the first part of school is spent in meetings and in services. Unless you want to work from 6 to 9 o'clock at night, you don't have any time to prepare your rooms. Also, most families expect school to start in September, especially since here in Washington, that last weeks of August are beautiful weather, perfect for camping, vacations, and kids shouldn't be spending it in the classroom, I think.
I will say, I conducted an informal survey of my own. I had 69 respondents. Of those, 67 requested draft 2. So my vote as well, for the reasons in addition to yours, my informal survey would be draft 2.
Well, and I will just, also kind of piggyback on what you both said. As I've always kind of, the committee that does the work on this, which I want to again thank all the people who participate and, because they, and share their feedback. Just as a board director, I can say that that is usually, I feel like the people who have done the work, gotten the input, that is where I tend to vote, because I feel that regardless of how I might feel as a parent or community member, the people who participate and gather all that input from stakeholders and staff, so I also am in favor of draft 2.
And I'll just say, I think you all know my opinion, and I appreciate the viewpoints you brought, but in years of doing this, the position of starting before Labor Day, I mean, we we heard it in one of our school connections tonight, you know, they're being tested on material they haven't learned yet. And all of our testing presents that the tests are set. So when the earlier we start, the more education that happens before the test. That's what I've heard for 6 years now. The earlier we get out, the kids get out of school. A lot of times we think about the graduating seniors, and we talk about when college starts. We only consider the kids that are going to Washington State schools, who start in September. We don't think about the kids who are going to out-of-state schools, who might start in August, who might be going to football or band camps that start in the beginning of August. The earlier they get out of school as graduating seniors, the more time they have to spend with their families, to work, to prepare for that transition to college. And so, again, and then the 3-day, 4-day, 5-day transition, it's easier on the younger kids, it's easier on the special needs kids. I can tell you as a parent who has had both, a kid, you know, when anxiety exists no matter what when your schedule changes, and anxiety over transition changes is huge, it's easier to do 3, 4, 5. So, majority will rule, but I will always support starting before Labor Day for those reasons. And I'm going to be perfectly blunt, because this is the last time I will ever have this conversation as a school board director. Even in what we just discussed, the reasons I have always heard for starting before Labor Day are always about the students. The reasons I have always heard about after Labor Day, and I absolutely respect our staff, but they've always been about the adults, whether it's the staff or the community. And we're here for kids. That's our job. The board is here for students. I said I'm elected by the community, but I work for the kids. So I will always vote for the schedule that I think supports the kids the best.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your comments. So just a reminder, we're voting on the acceptance of draft number 2. Okay. There's no more discussion. I put the question to vote. All in favor of the motion?
No.
Yes.
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 Okay. And Rick was opposed. The motion passes with a vote of 4, and 1 against.
But I just want to clarify, this is for 2025, not this coming school year.
That is correct, yes. Okay.
25, 26.
Yeah, 20. Next item is manager reports. The manager reports be turned over to Rachel Davenport and staff to answer any questions the board has regarding the materials provided.
No, looks like everything we discussed got captured well. The only thing I would say, with 1400, there's a lot of things we discussed that aren't specifically called out in policy. So I would just encourage and ask the board not to lose sight of those things that aren't specifically written that we discussed changing.
Are we talking about the policies then?
The
Yeah.
policy batch, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm looking at, 2190, which is the district's number, but it's Bill 5072, and it talks about, the hoops that we need to jump through before kids qualify for the highly capable program. And, I agree that it should be selected, and in the past, we've had an amazing program out of Squamish that was self-contained and was taught by teachers that were nationally certified, focusing just on those kids. And now they're back in the classrooms, and I just hope that we have more than just academic assessment to know how those kids are doing, because they do well on those academic assessments almost anywhere. They're highly capable, that's why they're in the program. So I just hope that we have some ways to look at their success and get some feedback from their parents, because I know they were very happy with the way it was before, and I don't really know why it changed, but that's just my point.
And if you're, I was gonna say, we can call up a couple members of the team, but each student that qualifies for highly capable, they have to have a student learning plan that they work with, thank you, that they work with their their teacher and the families of that student. And so that learning plan tracks how that student is doing, not just with their academics, but how they're gonna do extension within the generalized classroom. And, each of those classrooms where, they're being instructed, we had, Etosa have a very intensive training, and she's gone out and worked with our staff around instructing our it is looked at more like best practice, so the triangle that, Beth LaHaye was showing, there's other graphs you'll see that look like a diamond, where our highly capable, students are at the other point of that. And so, it's very individualized, and it is part of best practice. And I don't know if, anything to add to that. Carrie?
Is there a specific question? Yeah, you nailed it, that's great.
Yeah, and I can say, as someone who had a kid who was highly capable, who did not participate in Agate, it's the individual teacher, and he had an amazing teacher in 5th grade who I believe is long since retired, but he customized his learning plan, and he made sure he was challenged, and, you know, to the point of different curriculum and different evaluations, and, you know, because we chose not to send him to Agate, because in our case, we had just moved to the district that year, and so he just moved across the country, and we had him in 4th grade at Polesville Elementary, and now we were looking at moving him now to Squamish Elementary for 5th grade, and then middle school at 6th grade, and so we chose not to do that. And, yeah, having his differentiated education at 5th grade in that classroom worked out amazing. So it works either way.
Okay, the next item is, public comments. We've already heard from all 7 individuals who signed up, so there's, will be no second, public comment period. And then after that, the time is 8:01. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.